fret, my fine furry fella. In a matter of minutes, your relationship dilemma will be in the past, where I am rounding up the Diamond Dogs.
Who the fuck are the Diamond Dogs?
It's just a group of people who care, Roy. Not unlike folks at a hip-hop concert whose hands are not in the air.
Okay, so this is about you and Keely, right?
Saw this coming.
Nothing like the early days of courtship.
Okay, this is my fucking nightmare.
The Diamond Dogs have struck again.
You little pricks.
Welcome back, everybody. As you know, we are about to chat some Ted Lasso and the Diamond Dogs. So everybody get in here, assemble. First things first, the important stuff. We have some good beers because this is a good friendly chat. We got some first time callers on the line. And I'm starting with a definitively good beer for a definitively good show from Definitive Brewing Company out of Portland, Maine. It's called Wordless Ideas, which is an IPA with blackberry, watermelon, and lactose. As you all know, this is like my favorite brewery from back home, probably also close to being in the country that I've been to so far. And Wordless Ideas, Diamond Dogs, they have plenty of ideas to go around. So that's what I'm drinking. Really smooth. There's a lot of hate for lactose beers lately. I don't know why. It's like I'm on TikTok not knowing what I'm doing there, and everybody's just hating on lactose beers. So this one's got lactose in it too. So can't wait to be hated on for that. Lauren, what are you drinking?
Well, I don't hate. Okay. There's two Laurens tonight, so I feel like it's going to get a little confusing.
So
maybe you should call me Hoppy tonight. Let's go back to Hoppy.
What are you drinking tonight, firstly, before we get to our esteemed guest? Yes.
So in regards to lactose, they really do get a lot of hate. And I feel like it's people who are upset that there's a lactose beer on tap rather than a West Coast IPA or something. It's like, there's only so many taps at certain breweries, but I like the lactose beers, but they're like a lot of the sweet beers. Like you can only have so many, but I had a great lactose beer this weekend. I am drinking from Calusa because I mentioned last week my husband got me a ton of Calusa for Christmas, and this is one of my favorite breweries in Sarasota, Florida. This is actually a wet hopped triple New England IPA called Velvet Alley. So it has, which wet hops, I know for some people like Matt, that's a very common thing because in Idaho you have all those hop farms and it's wet hop season. But in Florida, we are getting a lot of hop farms, which is awesome, but they're not necessarily able to sell directly to a lot of these small breweries. So we don't really get wet hop beers very often, but when you do,
farms can't sell to the breweries directly.
So when I was at the hop farm in Apopka a couple months ago, and they were saying that they have a lot of issues, basically beer, it's not as affordable for the small breweries to buy from them as it is for them to buy from the big hop farms. So they're kind of trying to make their hops more affordable so they can do that. So like when you see a wet hop beer here, like Deviant Wolf did one in Sanford and Calusa, they're more like small batch beers a lot of times because the brewery can't really, it's not economical.
Makes sense.
But yeah, this has wet whole cone mosaic hops in it. And it's fantastic.
Just wet. Just absolutely wet. That seems to be the theme of the day if you followed PBR's Twitter account.
Yeah.
Whoa, yeah.
But before we get off track, we have two first-time guests here tonight from, we know there are some great people. So we have Dave from Beer in Front. And then we have another Lauren joining us from Beard Owl. So yes, you saw there were two Laurens. Lauren, we will start with you. Tell us about your show, introduce yourself, introduce the beer, and thanks for coming to talk some Ted Lasso.
Well, first of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about Ted Lasso with people that appreciate Ted Lasso. But yeah, as you said, I'm Lauren, and I am one of the hosts of the Beard Owl podcast. It's the podcast where we talk about two of the greatest things in the world, beer and Weird Al. And so, it's me and my brother most of the time, me and guests the other most of the time. And we just have a good time. We drink beer and we talk about Weird Al and go where the conversation takes us. And there's more Weird Al to talk about than you would ever think. I mean, I know, but most people are like, how do you have a whole show about Weird Al? And I was like, watch me. Like, this is what's happening.
Throw it on and listen real quick. Yeah, because there is a ton, as I've learned. My wife's a big fan of Weird Al. Me, I'm like, yeah, I like his stuff. And then following you along the journey, it's like, holy crap, there's more than I've ever known possible.
Yeah. I mean, he's just a treasure trove of amazement and amazingness and all that stuff. But yeah, I have a beer. It is called Freaky Friday. It's a high density hop charge from Equilibrium, and they're in Middletown, New York. And it's a triple Citra Daydream Imperial Oat Cream India Pale Ale.
There's a lot happening there.
I know.
That's like a mouthful. Did you have to practice that?
Yeah. I was studying the can before we started this today. No, it's so good. I would describe the mouthfeel as fluffy. This is one of those fluffy beers. Oh, and it's so tasty. It's just like super smooth and super fluffy, and it's 10.5%. So it's got that going for it as well. Yeah, getting the thumbs up from Dave. Like, yeah, I know what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
Oh, mine's 10 as well.
Yes. When you said you had a triple IPA, I was like, she's gonna be right up there with me. I know it.
Oh man,
those are my favorite.
7.5%. I'm bringing us down. Our average is going way down tonight.
Oh, I'm going to bring you down even more.
Yeah. So Dave, welcome. Introduce. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad you're feeling better, my friend, and take us away.
Hey, I'm Dave. I want to thank you both for having me on. It's an honor. And my show is Beer in Front, where I just pretty much want to talk about more old school beers. Just enjoy the beer that's in front of you. It's not always about getting 5 badges for every beer you check into on Untapped. Sometimes just the beer in front of you is the best one out there. And then I talk about more local Chicago things. And at the end, I'll call out some people that annoy me during the week.
What exactly do we call those people?
We call those people jagoffs. And you could see the sign. Oh, just knocked over my microphone.
We got a beer down.
Yeah. I held on to the beer.
We're good.
Yeah.
It's all good then.
He saved the beer.
The beer, the microphone. I'll just buy another one.
Right.
But if you could see the sign behind me, I call them jagoffs.
Yes, you do. And it's so much fun. Like on Twitter there, you're just always like, this jagoff today. And you're telling a lot of great stories. I'm like, that's how I first found you. And it's been great. And I thoroughly enjoyed
Matt was actually a jagoff on the show.
Often. But no, I'm glad that you both are here. We found a common love, not only beer, but Ted Lasso. I tweeted one time about Ted Lasso, and then it's like, I didn't know it was a thing. Like somehow I'd missed out on the entire experience, and then finally caught it after the first season. You guys are like, this show is amazing. And it's like, we needed a safe space to talk about it. And that's why we're here. We're finally, I've been saving this, been wanting to talk about Ted Lasso for months. Season 2 just actually came out a couple months ago. And I think they start filming season 3 here soon. And there were talks of season 3 being the last season. Let's hope not, because I probably will not be okay in any capacity. I'm going to need a therapist after that one.
Yeah. That's all I have.
Before we get into Ted Lasso.
Yes, Lauren has some Hoppy has some things. Oh gosh, this is like
it's gonna get real hard. I can be Lauren F.
No, we both have glasses and we're both drinking triple IPAs. Like this is very Twilight Zone.
It's a perfect beer you're drinking because you're drinking Freaky Friday, and that's kind of what it feels like right now.
Yeah. Red rum.
So Hoppy, you have some things first and foremost for our guest, I believe.
Yes. So again, we'll start with Lauren and then go to Dave. So everybody who's into beer obviously has a craft beer origin story. So where does yours begin? Like, what was the first beer you fell in love with? What was the shitty beer you started with? And how did you get to where you are today?
Oh, that's a really good question. The very, very short version of it is my dad. The longer version of that story is we would go out for pizza every Friday, and we went to this place and oh gosh, my dad and I would share a pitcher of Blue Moon because that was like as not crafty as my dad was willing to go. I mean, I was like 21 going out for pizza with my family, sharing a pitcher of Blue Moon with my dad. And I was like, oh, this is good. And then I branched out into some like Belgian things. But the first beer that I really fell in love with is actually the beer that we had on the very first episode of our podcast. It's an ale brewed with spicy Belgian yeast and honey and cherries from Trogs Brewing in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It's the Mad Elf. And that beer became Christmas, cemented my love for all things Belgian beers. So like, yeah, I have IPAs more often than not, but Belgian beers are like, they taste like home. They taste like this is where my beer started, was like with the Belgian stuff. So I guess that would be it. It started at home.
Trogs is
Nice.
good though. That Mad Elf is nothing to scoff at. Like there's a lot of flavor inside that Mad Elf, and Trogs is on like a really old time. Like they just craft beer. They've been around the game a good long time too.
Yeah. Yeah, they're so good. I had the great fortune to actually go to the Trogs Brewery this past summer with my dad, and the facility is absolutely beautiful. I think we got a quote unquote flight and tried everything between the two of us. And oh my gosh, it was magical. It was a magical day.
That's the perfect day.
I feel like you have a similar relationship with your dad that I do with mine. Like my dad came with us to Vermont to go to the Alchemist, and my husband left us at a bar, and it was the most hungover I've ever been the next day in my life.
That sounds about right.
Wait, you guys have dads? Wait a second. Mine left for beer about, I don't know, 25 years ago. Just kidding, kind of.
Dave, on that note, so what's your craft beer origin story?
I work for an airline, so like my friends and I, we would always like go somewhere for the day because we can. The flights are free. So one day, this was back in like '89, we decided we're just going to go to Boston for the day. We'll grab lunch. We'll see Faneuil Hall, things like that. So we're grabbing lunch, and I'm like, "Oh, Sam Adams, it's a Boston beer." I figure, all right, well, when in Rome. So I just had the Boston Lager, and that just blew me away, and now you think of it as just, it's just Boston Lager. But, back then, all you drank was, Budweiser, Miller, Coors. Well, not Coors in Chicago at the time, but we had Old Style. And to have something like Boston Lager with like the caramel malts and the German hops, it just totally blew me away, led me down this long road to ruin. And, that's my origin story. And I still, like, if I'm at a place in you don't find it at trendy beer bars, but like if you're ever at a Chili's or a place like that, Boston Lager on tap is still my go-to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The brewery, man. If people go to Boston and they're beer fans and don't go to the brewery, like it is a wicked, just great experience. The things that they've done with that brewery, right? And they only, at that location, they only, the beer that they make there only goes within the city limits. They actually, like, all the beer that they produce for the nation comes out of Ohio. And so, I'm something of a Boston Lager drinker myself. It is a great brewery.
Wait, you like
beer.
Boston? I didn't know.
Look it, kid. Wicked. I love it. Yes. How do you know? It's because I mentioned it 8 times a show. So,
Are we going to have like some Dropkick Murphys in the background?
We might now. We might need to do it. It might get a little crazy out here. Who knows? All
right.
The night will go. So that's pretty exciting. Hoppy, what other? I know you got a bunch of questions.
Those are really my only ones. Just favorite beer, favorite style, favorite. Oh, do either of you have a favorite brewery? I know that's a hard one. And if you can't answer that, I understand. It's like picking your favorite child.
No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Depends on the day. It changes. Yeah. Changes by the hour.
I'm going to take a stab at answering this. Trogs is my favorite brewery, like all time, just simply because like Mad Elf is so like important to me. And oh my God, the Nugget Nectar IPA is like, but locally here in the Jacksonville area, there's a place in Atlantic Beach called Rev Brewing, where it was the brewer from like one of the other more mainstream breweries here, and he just wanted to do something weird. And so he opened that up, and it's all like weird IPAs, weird sours, and weird stouts. And they just expanded the location, so they make pizza now. So they make like weird pizza, and they have weird beer. And the place is like a Alice in Wonderland meets a like a speakeasy kind of vibe. And it's in a strip mall that used to have a Domino's. And so it's quite an experience. And I mean, I'll tell anybody, if anybody asked me, like, I'm coming to the Jacksonville area, like what's, where should I go for beer? And I always say Rev. I'm like, well, how close was that to the stadium? And I'm like, not close at all, but like, worth it.
That's the rabbit logo,
how big
right?
Jacksonville is. Like, that's what's crazy is people think that Jacksonville's a small city. It's pretty sizable.
Jacksonville is the largest city by area in the contiguous United States. And I saw a map on Facebook just the other day with all of the cities that could fit inside the Jacksonville city limits. And like, you can put Chicago in there. You can Chicago, Cleveland, Cincinnati, like St. Augustine, like all these cities, like not just them by themselves, like all together could fit inside Jacksonville. It's huge.
I didn't realize that. And I actually grew up in Jacksonville. I went to elementary school in Jacksonville, Mandarin Oaks.
Duval.
I used to go there quite often. One of my really good friends lives in Jacksonville over at Orange Park. So I wish I knew all the good beer scene back when we were drinking Miller Lights and Bud Lights and going to like emo shows because I missed out on the entire beer scene in Florida when I lived there. But
we're still growing though. And only in the last few years, I feel like it hasn't really exploded, but we were driving home from Asheville and we stopped at Southern Swells and oh my gosh, I love their beer and their place is all beach themed. I thought it was so cute.
Yeah. Southern Swells is awesome. It's kid friendly. It's dog friendly. And their shtick is hazy IPAs, which is not everybody's proverbial cup of tea. But, so if that's your thing, then you're going to love Southern Swells. I've got people that are like, they only do hazy IPAs and they're like, wah, wah, but.
Well, they had a really good spicy stout as well. It had like peppers in it, which I know Matt hates peppers, but it was phenomenal. And I unfortunately they weren't crowlering it or canning it or anything. So I could only, drink it there, but it was delicious. I think it was something barrel aged.
Yeah.
Peppers don't belong in beer. Peppers do not belong in beer.
I love peppers in beer. I'm sorry. I don't know why, but it works.
A spicy subject. And what is your all-time favorite brewery?
I'm going to stick with the Rev theme and go with Revolution in Chicago. Everything they put out is just great, from their pails, their barrel aging program is world class. Everything Revolution puts out, I love, and it's fairly close to where I live, so it's only about a 5-minute drive.
Oh, that's nice.
Lucky. I'm still kind of sour that I didn't get out to Chicago in October like I'd planned.
Yeah.
But, hopefully soon, because I haven't been there. Again, that's another one of those places I visited before I got into craft beer and knew what beer really was back in like 2011. So that's a good choice. There's a lot of good breweries there, a lot of really good ones. But let's talk some Ted Lasso. So real quick, before we go on to all the things we love and we gush about the things that we love, except for Nate, fuck Nate. Let me recap season 1. Yes, spoilers.
If you haven't seen the show and you want to, you need to leave now.
Yeah, there we go. It's on Apple TV, but I'll be honest, I watched it on my Plex account. So
Apple TV is only $5 a month. So if you do want to watch it, you will easily binge it. They're short season. If you can afford the $5, if you really can't, let us know. We'll send you $5.
Yeah. We'll give you $5 to get it just so you can binge this show for real.
Skip one beer. Get Apple TV Plus.
Listen,
for a month.
stop buying your Starbucks coffee for a day and go out and get Apple TV just for this show alone. Then you can cancel it. So in season 1, the show kicks off. It's basically about a man named Ted Lasso, Jason Sudeikis, who was a football coach in Kansas City. Him and his assistant coach, Coach Beard, who is a gentleman and a scholar, they leave Kansas City to take a coaching job across the pond in the United Kingdom. And they begin their careers coaching at FC Richmond, who is owned by a woman named Rebecca, who now owns the team because her husband was stepping out. He was stepping out and cheating on her with younger women. And so she now owns the team, and she ends up hiring Ted out of pure hatred for her ex. And the whole plan is to tank the franchise. That's why Ted got hired up there. He's a big goon. He's a Southern guy. He's really upbeat. And he comes in there and really tries to set a winning tone. He's got assholes like Jamie Tart, and then the esteemed Roy Kent, who's basically like a Tom Brady, except for Tom Brady's never going to lose his star power and talent. But Roy Kent was actually getting a little old, couldn't run on the pitch like he used to. That's evident throughout this entire season. So yeah, Rebecca's trying to set Ted up, and so they're in comes Keely, who is Jamie Tartt's girlfriend. They're out talking to each other one day about how Ted can get through to Jamie. They try to frame photos of them together, all sorts of shenanigans, and then it turns out that Rebecca doesn't reveal the plans to him. She eventually feels guilty, reveals the plans to Ted. He forgives her because he's such a great guy. All right. And amidst all this, Ted's going through a bit of a rough patch. His wife's decided that they need space, which is why he actually left Kansas City. They're going to get a divorce. It's all pretty sad. And then we also have to talk about Nate, who is an equipment manager, who is cool right now. Yeah,
Nate the Great.
Nate the Great. He's an equipment manager who starts drawing up plays, which starts bringing some success to Richmond. However, in the end, they lose. They get relegated. They're out of the Premier League. Guys, did you guys see the show initially when it first came out, or was it one of those things that like word of mouth, everybody was like, this show is amazing, I need to watch it?
It was word of mouth for me. I know that I kind of caught up on season 1. It was the ads on Twitter is what had happened. That's what happened. Yeah.
Those damn ads.
I kept getting ads on Twitter for Ted Lasso, and it was like season 2 coming in 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, I love Jason Sudeikis. Oh. And so I watched the first episode and I was like, I was hooked, and it like literally like a day and a half. And I was like, no, now I have to wait 2 whole weeks.
It's really one of those few shows that captures you from the get-go though, right? I mean, That's all it took for me too. I watched one episode and I was like, oh my God, Ted Lasso is a model human being. How have I not watched this? Jason Sudeikis, you God, like, how did I miss this? Dave, what about you? Did you catch this just like the rest of us? It was through
it was
Twitter ads.
Right before. No, it was right before season 2. Now, my wife Ruby watched it last year when it came out, weekly, and it was one of those things. Nah, I don't know if I want to watch it, so I didn't. And then like season 2 was coming on. She's like, you have to watch this. So I just binged all of season 1, and then we watched season 2 together, week by week.
That was tough. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Going back to the week by week things when I was on season 2, I was like, what do you mean I only get one episode right now? And I got to wait a whole week to resolve conflicts and things like that. Like, what is going on?
You're back in the Stone Ages here.
Yeah. What is this? What is
we're doing that with Dexter. And my husband gets like mad. Oh my God, we have to wait another week for an hour.
It's like all the Disney Plus shows. You're like, oh, I got to wait another week. But my Lauren Hoppy, go ahead. Why don't you tell everybody how you started watching this show? No big deal. I'm going to take it.
Because you told me to.
Exactly. Thank you.
Well, this was one of those shows where, and I've said it before on the podcast, if people from different walks of life are recommending the same thing, like that happened to me with Game of Thrones. I'm like, well, I'm not really into like medieval shows. And then I had people that were not into any sort of geeky stuff. And then people that were into geeky stuff. And then, totally different friends recommending it. Same thing with Ted Lasso, like friends from high school recommending it, beer friends were recommending it. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a chance. And my husband fell in love with it too. And he doesn't watch, too many TV shows, but I do have a fun
anything but crypto.
Yeah, right. He doesn't watch a lot of crypto. Well, he really likes Dexter. And I got him into Daredevil though. So I did that. He just finished season 2 and now he's on Jessica Jones. Ted Lasso started out as a commercial. Did you guys?
Really?
I had no clue.
It did?
So you should YouTube it. Anybody just YouTube Ted Lasso commercial and it should come right up. It's pretty funny. So the character of Ted Lasso first appeared in an NBC sports commercial way back in 2012 to promote the English Premier League. The commercial followed the same premise as the show, with Sudeikis' character instantly charming audiences. It was such a hit that NBC created another commercial featuring Ted Lasso a year later. It's just under 5 minutes, and Beard is also in it. And so they had the idea of, oh, this could be a show, and his wife was like, you guys should make this into a whole show. Or I don't know if they were ever married. Olivia Wilde.
Yeah, it was. They were.
So she was pushing him to do it. And then he ran into Bill Lawrence, who's the dude that did Scrubs. And that's when it all started to come to fruition.
That is wild.
There you go. And Zach Braff actually directed an episode who was on Scrubs.
That's right.
Yeah.
He did. So who were you guys' like initial right up through the first seasons? Because we'll talk about the first season first and move to the second. What characters right from the get-go, obviously other than Ted Lasso, were you like really intrigued by? What storylines were you really intrigued by right off the bat?
I'm going to start by saying I'm going to take this slightly broader than characters for like gut reactions to season 1, because I knew I wanted to get through it, but episode 1 didn't totally grab me, nor really 2. And I will tell you why. Because in my head, I was like, this is Major League, but soccer. That's
I mean, that's a very good point. I didn't even,
because you have the young brash player in Jamie Tart. You have the old used to be great player in, Roy Kent, which again, you also have in Major League. You have the female owner of the franchise that wants to tank it, so there are so many like parallels. And I was like, this is Major League with soccer, and then like, I started getting into it. And then I told my brother, I was like, John, you got to watch Ted Lasso. And he goes, well, give me a high level premise, please. And I go, it's Major League, but soccer. And he's like, okay. And I was like, no, but it's good. Like
it's actually good. Trust me.
I mean, I love Major League. Don't, but what I'm saying is like, but it took me a while to get into a lot of it. Obviously loved Ted Lasso right from the start, but I knew in my heart of hearts right from the very beginning that Rebecca was going to turn around.
Oh yeah. You had to have that feeling because she wasn't a bad person ever.
No,
really.
No, I knew it. The second she took that first bite of biscuit, I was like, he's going to win this lady over. And I was like, first of all, she's gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
I could listen to her read the phone book. And so I just became enamored with Rebecca and
what about yelling shame walking down an alleyway in Game of Thrones?
I was shocked when I found out that was her.
Yeah.
And she still apparently owns the bell.
That's crazy.
She's like stunning gorgeous, like and carries herself so perfect and just and she owns those heels. I mean, she is a tall woman and she fucking owns those heels.
Yes. I love her so much. Side note, did you catch her on the Michael Bublé Christmas special singing with Michael Bublé? Because if you didn't, do it because wow.
Really? I didn't. I had no idea, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I'm in love with her.
Well, Disney didn't want them to do Let It Go. And then when they heard her actually sing it, they said, oh, okay, you guys can do it.
Mm-hmm.
She's an incredible actress. And the way she acts, you can tell every evil thing that she was doing. There was some pain behind the act. Like she didn't really want to do it, but she's had so much hatred built up in her heart that it was kind of, she just was lost, which a lot of characters, that's kind of a theme of the show, is a lot of characters are lost. Dave, what were your initial reactions? What were you like first right off the get-go? What jumped out to you the most?
The first episode was like, okay, this is all right. It's a quick half-hour sitcom, so I'll watch a couple more. And then the more you watched it, I was from the start.
And then one more.
Yeah. Huge fan of Roy Kent, the character, from Brett Goldstein. He plays it perfectly. He's just gruff, mean, but you could tell in there that there was a heart of gold. And it was nice to see that come out, especially in season 2 with his niece and everything like that. But it was just every character was so good. It was so well written. You couldn't have cast it any better. I mean, to me, it's almost like
too. By the way.
The next great movie or
something like
or films. It was something about films.
Because I was like, I can listen to this guy talk all the time.
Films to be buried with, I think it is. Yeah.
He has a podcast.
Yeah.
He's one of us. One of us.
Yeah. Only way more handsome and rich than I could ever hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I can't let
I don't
this
think
go
he's doing anchor ads. Yeah.
No, my God. Could you imagine? Get on Anchor, you fucking wanker. Get on Anchor, you fucking wanker.
Fuck off.
Oh! I can't go any further. Hannah Waddingham. That's Rebecca. Hannah Waddingham.
Oh, yes.
If you're listening, Hannah, I love you. I would have your babies, Hannah. I'd like, oh my God, she's gorgeous.
Speaking of Roy Kent, also going back real quick, because I had a thought that was like, it didn't hit me until recently why I loved Roy Kent as much, but I relate to that man so much because I play basketball and I'm definitely the oldest person on my basketball team by about 10 years. And I'm also, I'm like, this is kind of like the end of my playing days, going to transition to coaching. And I'm always angry at everybody. I'm like, one day I was just like, oh, fuck off or something. Now I stopped and I was like, oh God, am I Roy Kent now? And then ever since then, just watching, I was like, Jesus Christ, I love Roy Kent. He's my guy. That's my guy right there.
We all have a little Roy Kent in us. And it's when you're dealing with jagoffs, I feel like you just want to curse at them.
It's very true.
Call them all see you next Tuesdays.
Yes.
Hoppy, what were because we didn't really talk too much while you were watching it because we were kind of saving it for the podcast. What were like things that jumped out to you that you loved a lot about the show?
I fell in love with Beard right away. I mean, I already knew I liked Jason Sudeikis from SNL and We're the Millers and Horrible Bosses. He's funny and he's like
everything.
I'm brain farting on Jason Bateman. He's like Jason Bateman.
Yeah.
He's just funny and know everything he's doing. Even if he's in something that's not good, he himself is still funny. But I did love that he just has the huge heart and like he's what everybody who thinks they want to be a nice person wants to be, even if they aren't. But Beard was just so matter of fact. He's so knowledgeable. And I love that he's just like Ted Lasso is like behind the scenes guy. It's like they need each other. One's the heart, one's the brain, and they both know that each other are that. And so I just loved them playing off of each other. And when I found out they were together in the commercial, I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. Did you just say Batman and Alfred?
Yeah, it's like Beard is Alfred. He's the guy behind the scenes. Right. He's very quiet behind the scenes. No one really knows, but he's always in Ted's ear, kind of chatting him up.
Yeah. All right.
I'm sold on it.
I'll allow it.
I think for me too, one of the things, I don't know if you guys agree, but something that this TV show does that a lot of TV shows don't do is they get right. Like if there's drama going on, they resolve that shit like within the episode, if not the beginning of the next episode. And that's something I appreciate so much because other than like, obviously Rebecca spent most of the season going behind Ted's back, that even got resolved in a really heartwarming manner.
Grown up way.
Drug out. Yeah. Like everything was so adult and grown up about it.
Yeah. I think it's a nod to like the way sitcoms used to do things where things do get resolved fairly quickly. This is just because of you saying that, this is literally a thought that I'm just having now. This was not pre-planned. So you're welcome. That could be why so many people have found Ted Lasso so comforting, is because it harkens back to the kinds of sitcoms that we remember happening where like, bad shit happens, but it gets resolved and everybody's happy. And you have that tender moment, like, oh, it's all right. Like a hug, right? But it's doing that. It's making us feel that, but in a more nuanced and mature way. It's that same feeling though.
Yeah, but even like, I'll have to disagree a little bit. If you look at like, and we'll get into season 2 in a bit, but the whole transformation of Nate from this lovable equipment manager to
you loved Nate,
just fucking jag-off at the end of season 2, that literally lasted the entire season 2. And you could tell bit by bit, looking back, how, this makes sense now and how he transformed. And even other like storylines it took a while to develop, like Jamie Tart and his father. That took a while for that thing to resolve itself. So I do, while I agree where, yes, everything gets resolved quickly, in certain cases, I like the way they play it all out and let it build and let like the characters breathe and grow into the story.
Right. And evolve. Yeah. I think they do a good job of, like you said, tying it up and giving you those, when you walk away, like good feelings, especially like the Christmas episode. But because it's, it's not Family Matters or Full House, they have intelligent storylines. So that's probably why we love it, because it's a combo of the two. It's like, sitcom targeted towards intelligent adults.
They don't talk. They don't like talk down to you at all. Even with the drama that gets prolonged, it doesn't feel like it's just strung out for the sake of filling episodes. It's like, oh no, this actually makes sense in the context of what's happening in the bigger picture. Like when we do get to season 2, Nate's kind of descent, I don't think it makes a lot of sense. But as it gradually goes and goes and goes, it's like, oh, it's not purposely being drug out to the point where I'm watching a CW TV show.
Right. Or like Grey's Anatomy.
Oh my God. Like, just die already. Everybody.
Seriously. I don't know. Yeah. I'm surprised they haven't. I mean, don't they get like blown up all the time?
Like, what is happening at that hospital?
I know. I feel like I watched it when it first came out, but I stopped years ago, and it blows my mind every time I see people still talking about it.
I think I have students in my college classes that are younger than that show.
Yeah. Because my daughter is 18 and she was like an infant when I started.
Yeah. I think it started in like 2003. I think we talked about this before.
Kaylee was born.
Like 2004. Yeah.
Sweet sassy
it's been around for
Molassie.
fucking ever, and it's never going to end, apparently.
We were watching Jessica Jones, and I forgot about the part. She sneaks into the hospital, and they're like, "Oh, what hospital?" She pretends she's new. They're like, "What hospital did you transfer from?" She's like, "Seattle Grace."
Oh God. It's like, which is going to end first, Simpsons or Grey's Anatomy? Nobody knows.
Oh dear God. I hope Grey's Anatomy.
Oh my God. I mean, the both of them, they shoot horses for less. Like, I don't know.
But Matt, you had said to me, one of the things you liked about it was that they wrap up the drama right away. And that was one of the things I thought about, is like a lot of these shows that have been on forever, like Grey's Anatomy, it's the same story over and over of somebody gets mad at somebody else because they didn't tell them when that person had nothing to do with it. And it wasn't even their business to tell them. And like, so
are we talking about Arrow? Oliver Queen
you said
didn't tell his girlfriend that he has a son. It was none of her fucking business, and she leaves him or something stupid like that. Ugh.
Now you ruined it.
Stood up out of the wheelchair.
Ugh.
No, he saved you some time.
The drama's so bad it makes crippled people be able to get up from their wheelchairs.
The first couple seasons were fantastic.
Yeah.
It didn't end
the first couple seasons, and then you can just never watch anything else after that. But I gotta say, I will say this: at the end, I was fully expecting them to win and save their spot, because that follows the formula for a lot of sports movies and stuff, right? Unless it's Friday Night Lights where they're down at the 1 yard line or whatever. But I just expected, like, of course, this is going to end heartwarmingly, and it did in a way.
Yeah, I'm right on board with you. I was fully expecting them to win, just like, the Indians won in Major League. Yeah. I was fully expecting that to happen. But I think the fact that it didn't, again, plays into how smart the show is. Like, you still left season 1 feeling good about a lot of things, even though they lost. And I feel like it had to end that way because that's the most Ted Lasso way for it to end. Like finding the positive even when like stuff is going wrong. Ted Lasso tries to be that kind of coach. He's like, well, hey, we can tie. Hey, we didn't lose. We tied.
Yeah, he has no idea what's going on.
Like, he has no idea what's going on. And if they won, like, would that have felt satisfying? Like, as a viewer?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it would have. You're right. Because then it's like, all right, where do you go from here? You're just going to continue winning. What you're going to expect them to turn around and win more games all of a sudden? Like that's a very good point. It makes a lot of sense. You need somewhere to go, especially in the bigger picture of the show, because Ted's such an upbeat person. Like, you're getting relegated, which is a huge deal when it comes to Premier League football and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Like, without the stuff going on, Ted could very easily be toxic positivity, like very easily. But
Jason Garrett on the sidelines just clapping the entire time.
Yes, Jason Garrett on the sidelines just clapping all the time. Yeah. But yeah, without the stuff going wrong, too much up is no good. And Ted is always like so up most of the time that we needed other things to go wrong.
Very true.
Yeah. I actually really liked the scene where he snapped at Nate, because it was showing that even though he wants to be positive all the time, it's damn near impossible. But I feel like part of us wanted them to do good just because we wanted to get back at Rebecca's ex, but that wasn't the point. The point was, being happy, and that's your greatest revenge.
And they really do show growth from pretty much everybody. Every character has something going on, even Beard that we see. The running joke with his girlfriend there. Before we do move into season 2, Dave, is there anything that you want to talk about season 1 before we go into season 2 real quick?
No, it was just very refreshing to see such a well-written show, yes, it didn't end the way it didn't put a nice shiny bow on, okay, hey, now we're going to, stay in the Champions League, such and such. So everything was just well written, well acted. It made you look forward to, okay, let's see what's going to happen now. And I forget what they call the second tier league in the.
I do too. I forget what that is.
So yeah, let's just see what happens with this. So no, it really made you look forward to season 2.
Is it triple A? Is it triple A? No.
Oh man.
Learned a lot of terms though. As somebody who's not a soccer fan, I mean, pitch and everything was different.
Yeah. The kits, they're wearing kits instead of jerseys.
When it's not practice, what is it?
Yeah. Oh, the practice. That was brilliant.
Oh my gosh, what do they call it?
What do they call it? Training.
Yeah.
Is it training? That feels wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'll Google it while that moves on.
I think one of the beautiful things too, also, by the way, we forgot to mention that Ted tried to resign. He was at a low after they got relegated. He was like, I'm out of here. But then Rebecca actually had turned it around. I was like, no, you're what we need right now and what everybody kind of needs. And I thought that was beautiful. So, all right. So moving on to season 2, well, this is where things start to get a little, the angers tend to start to rise, especially towards a certain character. So basically the team is relegated. Roy is kind of retired and him and Keely are together. Keely convinces Roy to go ahead and be a talking head on a sports show after his retirement. And that they want him right away because, hey, you get the great Roy Kent to come and talk, sports with you. Meanwhile, Richmond's continuing to struggle. Ted is, due to these struggles, he brings back Jamie, who had left for Manchester United. The team is pissed because they don't want Jamie Tart. He was toxic. He talked down to everybody, and now the team actually seems to be cohesive together. They just aren't winning yet. And so Jamie comes back. Him and Roy have such hatred for each other that actually they end up beautifully coming together by the end. And Roy goes off on a tirade. He hates being a talking head. He ends up becoming a coach for the team, for Richmond. And while all this is going on, Ted's going through his divorce, so he starts to struggle with panic attacks. He leaves one of the games early. Nate takes over. And from then on, the team brings actually in a sports therapist who Ted is very against therapy a lot. There's what they do really well is the whole stigma behind therapy they bring to the forefront. And so, but
I liked his explanation as to why he didn't like it. With his wife or soon to be ex-wife and everything. I thought that made a lot of sense. And that is probably what a lot of people's, in real life, they have one negative experience about therapy and are anti-therapy the rest of their lives.
Oh, it hit home. That's for sure. It hit home for sure. The team has a sports therapy. Meanwhile, Nate, who is hero Nate. We love Nate. Behind the scenes, he's being a little bitch. And he's leaking stuff about the panic attacks to Trent Krim from The Independent, who we got to know real well. And him and Ted formed a friendship in season 1. Keely and Roy are going through some things. They love each other. But Keely starts her own business and she's going to go ahead and she's going to depart from the club where she was kind of their publicist. Roy's kind of lost at the end of the season. He's looking to take a vacation for 6 weeks with her. She's going to focus on it, tells him to go ahead and take 6 weeks to himself. And it comes out that, yes, Trent Krim told Ted that, hey, Nate was the one who leaked the panic attacks. That's how I knew. And we kind of get some altercation, but not really altercation, but it comes to a head. Nate leaves. He is now coaching Rebecca's ex-husband's team in the Premier League, and Richmond ends up tying to be able to go, and they're not relegated anymore. They get a second chance, and that's kind of where it comes. And first things first, everybody, we can all agree Nate is a piece of shit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand his motivations at all, other than hey, I'm not getting credit, but Ted tried to give Nate all the credit in the world.
I know
I don't understand what his problem was. I don't.
Do you think that some of it stemmed from that really weird shopping day he had with Keely, and that he felt
kissed her out of nowhere?
Kissed her out of nowhere. Yeah. And do you think he felt, because sometimes when you do like one stupid thing, like in one area of your life,
slip and fall, right?
Like you feel like you have to balance it out in some way. And so maybe Nate's like, well, I did this one stupid thing, but Ted had a panic attack, which is worse. And so like, if Keely's going to tell Roy that like I kissed her and I'm going to feel like, oh no, like garbage about that. Well, like I have to make Ted feel, I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily what it is, but I don't know.
They did a great job of making him he got too big of a head. Yeah. So what? You knew a few plays. You were just the equipment manager 5 days ago. Like, what is going on, pal?
He was offended when Roy didn't get mad, and Roy had gotten mad about the Jamie situation because he was upset that he wasn't viewed as a threat. That was an insult to him.
If you look at like the end of season 1, when Nate thought he was getting fired and no, they were promoting him, like he went off on Rebecca in season 1. So I think that planted the seed, like he's not going to be a good person. And everything in season 2, just these little digs on Nate, from not getting the K-cup machine or the Nespresso machine or whatever that was, like how little he felt then, to the whole
everything, so
taking his parents out for dinner and like not being able to get that good table. It just, all these little digs on him, and you could see where like it's making him feel like shit, and he thinks he deserves more than maybe he's entitled to. But yeah, it was just weird, like going over everything. And it's like, oh yeah, you forgot about this. You see his hair go from black to practically gray at the end of
Barack Obama there.
Season 2. Yeah. It just like went all gray. Yeah, there's a lot going on. You didn't even recognize him
from the back. Yeah.
He just turned around at the end when he's got that shit-eating grin on his face. And you're just like, fewer times have I wanted to punch somebody through this TV screen than I did Nate at that moment.
And even like when he was trying on the clothes, and he was so mad at himself for kissing Keely, like he spits at himself in the mirror. There's just a lot going on with that character. Yeah.
That was what Keely had, do something to just get it all out. And so I feel like spitting everywhere is terrible, especially season 2, I'm sure was filmed with COVID protocol.
Now we're like, oh my God, everybody is sick. Who is cleaning that mirror?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Practically assault.
Yeah.
But like, I do think like Nate, I think he feels so sorry for himself that he can't get out of his own way. He almost feels like he needed to point his anger at somebody. And so he pointed at Ted, who's like the most upbeat person. But I just his motivations, and I can't wait to see him. I don't know, because we don't know what goes on in the show, but I hope he gets shit on so bad in the next season. Like the fact that Coach Beard knew like what was going on with Nate. He saw him treating the new equipment manager like shit, and he was basically like calling him out. But Ted took the high road kind of with him. He's like, you're right, I messed up. That was me. And Nate still is just such a punk to Ted's face that you were right. Like, don't worry, Ted, I'm going to beat his ass for you. Is kind of how I was feeling.
I think we all were. We all wanted to beat his ass and hug Ted.
Exactly. Like, oh my gosh. But this season, it did really beautifully, though. I think we were just talking about the stigma behind therapy, right? Like probably now more than ever, therapy and mental health is a gigantically hot topic in the world. And so the way they did that there, like, man, I thought that was great. I thought it was great. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, I love the character. What was her name? Sharon. Yes. I mean, the actress who played her. I loved that character, how like professional she was, even like early on, like wasn't Ted like giving her shit about like you charge people for the hour, but you only see them for 50 minutes. I mean, just ways he was getting at her, but how she was just a wonderful character. And giving Ted the hug when he was having his attack, to her own accident with the bicycle. I mean, she was a great addition in season 2. I love that character.
I thought she was too.
Her bike accident was, I mean, obviously it's terrible, but it created such a different dynamic for them. And I love that she left him like 87 messages or whatever she did. And, you know, being somebody who was not how she wanted to be perceived in her drugged up, you know, state. But yeah, that was a great relationship. That was probably my favorite relationship in season 2.
Yeah. Mine was, what's his name? In the closet, or he keeps Higgins.
Oh, Higgins. I love Higgins.
Yeah. Higgins in his office that he never quite gets to have.
I love that he's like genuinely happy. Like he's just.
Yes. He has this big, beautiful family. He's such a good person, you know, and his wife loves him. His kids love him. Higgins, you're right. Higgins is just happy, you know, and do you think Higgins knows how like put upon he is, you know, in some ways, how like, you know, he never really gets a proper office and like all this, that, and the other. Do you think he's just like, well, okay.
Well, it's interesting looking at the Higgins character, who also probably equally gets shit on as much, right?
Yeah.
And then look at him in comparison to Nate, like the polar opposites. Like Higgins very easily could be disgruntled, but he chooses to just, you can see the happiness in this man's face when the Diamond Dogs assemble or anything happens, like the pure happiness he feels, while Nate is just pure disgust. Those two characters are very interesting to see play off each other.
Yeah. Nate will never be happy. Like he's just, it's never going to be good enough. He's, you know, he's done being he feels like he's been a victim his whole life and now he's just out for blood. But I feel like Higgins is one of those people that if he's getting shit on, he feels it's done in a friendly manner because he truly cares about these people and he assumes that is reciprocated and he's willing to do whatever he can for these people because he, you know, like opening up his house on Christmas every year when they maybe get one player come over and they're happy to have that one player. And then this year he's super popular and they all come over and they're, you know, just thrilled at that. Like he just, I think he just is a lovable guy. He's what we thought Nate was.
Yes, I love the Higgins Christmas. Like that was like I wanted to go to that party. Like
it looked like a good time, right?
It really, really did. You know, and oh my God, how happy Higgins' wife was with all that going on. She just like you could see her like heart was just singing. Like because like we've opened your like you said, other Lauren. Like we've opened our hearts and our homes up like all these Christmases and like, you know, maybe one or two players will show up, but to see how happy she was to have like that full of a house, even though it's not that big of a house, it was, you know, it was packed and like, oh my God, there was just so much joy in that Christmas episode. And I get that it didn't really move the plot of the season along all that much, but my God, was it heartwarming. Like it was just like, oh, that's just a warm cup of cocoa right there.
And the dart gun, the playing with the kids was hilarious. But I feel like that in, you know, this isn't a serious show like The Walking Dead or anything like that. But even in those serious shows, every now and then where they give us that heartwarming episode that doesn't move along the plot, like we love that. And we know we can't get that every episode or, you know, you can't have a show about zombies where everybody lives happily ever after every episode. We get that. But those episodes do tend to be fan favorites. And it was funny because I wasn't caught up. I had just started, but I wasn't caught up yet when they did the Christmas episode. And it was like 1:30 in the morning. And the next one was the Christmas episode. I'm like, fuck, I have to watch it now because everybody had been talking about it. I mean, like, you know, you're friends with people on Facebook that you haven't seen in a few years or whatever. And those like randomest people were commenting on the Christmas episode. And I was like, I got to watch this. So I don't think I went to bed till almost 3:00 in the morning that night. It was worth it.
Can we also talk about, speaking of relationships and things, Sam and Rebecca, that whole plot twist that unfolded throughout the season?
Did not see that coming.
No, that was something wild stuff.
They're meeting over, you know, whatever it's called over there. Well, it's a fake app, obviously, but they meet.
Oh, it's Keely's app.
Keely's app. That's what it was.
Banter.
Yes.
Banter.
That's what it was. That's right.
Thanks, Dave.
Dave is wearing the jersey.
Yes. Yeah. It was banter, and they didn't know it was them for the longest time. They're talking and hitting it off, and then they finally meet in person. And it's just like, oh no! But it was like a forbidden romance, and they end up giving it a try. And Sam is trying to get lured to the Nigerian team, and he chooses to not go with them. And the most hilarious thing I think of the season was when he turns them down, and the rich guy's just like trashing him, and then the backup guy, he's like, you don't get a handshake, and he's like breaking stuff, and it's just like such a meltdown. It was ridiculous.
Oh yeah, what power and wealth will do to people.
But how do you guys feel about that Sam and Rebecca relationship? Like, is that something that we're gonna probably see unfold some more? Like, is that going to be a successful relationship, or not really sure what's happening there?
I don't know. It probably will. I mean, he's staying with the team, so you have to think they're probably going to get together. I know Laura and I inboxed you where I initially thought Roy Kent was going to get together with her after he gave the big speech to her where, she shouldn't settle for this other guy that she was dating. Yeah, I'd have to think that Sam and Rebecca there's still something there between the two.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I think that there's just something so charming about the whole situation. Her randomly matching with Sam in a situation like that speaks to the growth of Rebecca's character.
Oh, yeah.
That she stopped being interested in somebody for their money and started being interested in somebody for who they are inside, because Sam is such a good
he's a
guy.
Genuine human being.
Genuine human being. And that fucking smile, his smile.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's he's got real good teeth, real good teeth.
Yeah, he does.
Dude.
And he's a charming dude, but that smile, man, it's just whoo.
Well, if he does hook up with her, their kid's gonna have beautiful teeth.
Right.
Rebecca has nice teeth too.
They're the best teeth in England.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Seriously, those hypothetical children would be gorgeous.
Those kids are going to be beautiful.
Oh my God.
Good gracious.
You're right, Dave. Real good teeth.
Yeah.
I like that her mother knows, and she's the one that caught them at first.
I know.
And she's all for it.
Well, she was having that one guy that was over who was just randomly naked in the kitchen, and her mom was there and everything like that. And then it evolved from there. So she's just used to having men in the kitchen, I guess the mom was. But I thought that was great. And actually, Rebecca's best friend there, I didn't mind the kind of sub relationship where her and Ted end up hooking up. And I think there's something there. I thought they had pretty good chemistry on screen. So,
but Ted needs closure with his wife first.
Yeah, I am. So what do you guys think? What are your kind of predictions for season 3? They've talked about how they've only pictured this being a 3-season series. Obviously, they also said that, hey, things could change. Do you think we're wrapping this up in season 3? What are some predictions that you guys got for us?
Okay, I'll start. And by saying whether or not this goes past season 3 depends on how season 2 does in award season.
Ooh.
Okay. Because if season 2 is great. I don't think it had that season 1, bam, bam, pow, going to win all the awards season. You know what I mean?
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying.
Season 1. So if season 2 wins something, then they may go past season 3. So that's my guess there. But as far as where the show is actually going to go, I'm real curious to see what happens with Nate in his new, his new position. What happens to him there? Is he going to carry that attitude over? Has it changed? Will it get worse? Will it get better? What's going to happen? I don't know. But as for everybody else, I'm just going to let them live their lives and see what happens. I don't like guessing.
Especially for Coach Beard, who's in such a toxic relationship. Get that man out of that thing. My God.
How great was the episode though where he lost his pants and stuff?
Yeah.
What is happening right now?
Oh, that was a good one.
It was I
loved what he I loved what he did though for the guys that are always at the bar though, where he got them on the pitch.
Yes,
That was really cute.
yes.
Did you see? I think it was last week that the actor who plays Coach Beard was in Chicago at a Bulls game, and they introduced him, and the mascot for the Bulls, Benny the Bull, had on Beard's pants from that episode. The mascot had these like wild, outlandish pants. Oh, it was hysterical. I'll have to find it and retweet it. It was great.
Oh,
That's amazing.
Yeah. I love that. Dave, do you have any predictions? Anything that you're hoping to see out of season 3?
I know they initially said it's going to be 3 seasons, but I think you have to know right now if it's going to go more, because if you're writing for season 3, if it's only going to be 3, it needs to be wrapped up.
Yeah, so, this isn't lost.
I have a feeling it's going to go longer just because, I don't know, it's so popular. There's probably too much money involved that at least let it go 4, maybe 5.
I was going to say, I feel like at most we're going to get 5 seasons at most, where they may not win the championship this, they may do well enough to stay in the Premier League. Maybe they lose to Nate's team at the end. The next year, maybe they beat Nate's team. And then finally in season 5, maybe is when they win the championship. But I'm kind of with you. Like, I think that we're at least going to get 4 or 5 seasons, and then they'll probably cut it before it becomes one of those shows that ends poorly, so to speak.
Like Grey's Anatomy.
Yes.
Oh my God.
17th season. Yeah.
It just
This is the show that doesn't end.
We just kill everybody and replace them.
Yeah.
But with Lost though, they wanted to end it earlier, and ABC was like, no, keep going. And they're like, well, we don't know what we're doing anymore.
We don't know what to do.
I'm not sure, because they did say it was going to be 3 seasons, and Jason Sudeikis is in the same position as Ted Lasso, where he's away from his kids for, a great amount of time while they're filming. And so I don't know if it was Bill Lawrence, somebody said like, our intention was to do 3 seasons. We're keeping it at 3 seasons because, Jason Sudeikis' family is in the States, and it's really hard for him to be away. However, one, Lauren mentioned the nomination. So they got 20 nominations for season 1, which they broke an Emmy record. And 2, so Ted Lasso is like the most streamed show on Apple. And when Ted Lasso's on, all the other shows viewership goes up as well. So, I mean, I feel like Apple's going to do whatever they can to get that $5 a month from everybody.
They're going to do a Coach Beard show once Ted Lasso.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's so true. I started watching the morning show because of Ed Lasso. Because
is that the one with Jennifer Aniston?
And Reese Witherspoon or Witherspoon. Yeah. I started watching that because like Ted Lasso, I had Apple, and an episode ended and I was like, what else is on this app? And I was like, I love both of these. And then I got sucked into that. So like, I see the logic there, because I downloaded Apple TV for Ted Lasso.
That's a good
and I would not have been there without that. So,
and we mentioned this before though, because when we did it, like our TVs are all Fire Stick, and we have Apple or iPhones, and so I had to use the iPhone to get the app on the TV. So if somebody who doesn't own any Apple products, can they not watch Ted Lasso? See, nobody knows because everybody owns something Apple.
I have an iPhone, and I'm currently recording through an Apple computer.
I've asked this question to a couple of people, but everybody I've asked it to has iPhones. So, but yeah, I wasn't, because I had to do like a weird thing and like log into like my iPhone account, and then it popped up on my TV. So I don't know.
I don't know. Hey, anybody listening, if you've got an Android phone,
somebody answer this for us.
Can you download the Apple TV app? Because it may not mean like having to log in with your Apple ID. You may just have to log into the app from your phone to connect it to the Fire Stick. Because I had to do that for Paramount Plus too. Like it's like, do you want to?
Yeah.
So, sit tight. We'll find out.
I wish more stuff had to be done through your phone, because my 4-year-old ordered some app.
My
it was only 99 cents. We're like, fine, you can have this for a month. But yeah, my kids haven't bought anything on Disney Plus yet. Knock on wood.
That's how I owned Raya for a while before it became free.
But as far as Nate, I feel like Nate's going to continue acting like an a-hole, and it's going to backfire. And then it's
bound to, right?
It might go in a Roy Kent direction, not a Roy Kent direction, a Jamie Tart direction, though, where they forgive and bring back. I don't know. Because Jamie Tart, though, wasn't like an a-hole. He was like bred to be an a-hole, whereas Nate is just like wanting to be an a-hole.
Yeah.
Jamie Tart's a douche. Okay.
He is.
Nate is an asshole. There's a difference between a douche and an asshole.
He's an ugly, ugly boy with
His
bad
dad
hair.
was very awful to him growing up, as you saw. Like, he beat his ass. So, to be fair.
But to be fair, also, Nate has excuses just like that. So, you know, it's like, I don't know. But can we just pause for a second and appreciate the way that Jamie Tart says Keely?
Oh, yeah.
Keely.
That Jamie Tart, this song, though, oh my gosh, that was terrible. I thought we had put that song behind us.
You thought wrong, apparently.
I want to do my eyebrow like his, though.
Is that a scar?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
No,
Jamie Tart eyebrow.
I think that's intentional. Yeah.
People do get that intentionally done on their eyebrows.
What,
be careful.
To look like Jason Momoa?
Everybody's like Googling him now to see what.
Help me, I don't know.
Phil
Eyebrows
Dunster.
don't always grow back. Like my mom still has her 70s very thin eyebrows.
Oh, that's fair. I don't know. Hoppy, before we go ahead and wrap up this episode, I know you got some fun facts. Do you want to share any fun facts other than the fact that did you know the actress who plays Keely, you might have recognized her in a movie called The Dark Knight Rises because she was the friend of Selena Kyle, aka Anne Hathaway, in that movie.
Really?
That's all I got. Yeah. I recognized her right away.
I did not have that fun fact.
I was like trying to figure out, I was like, I know her from somewhere. I know her. And finally it clicked. She is Catwoman's friend there. So that's all I got. But what are some fun facts that you have before we wrap it up?
All right. I've already done a few of them. So Richmond is not a real team. As somebody who doesn't follow soccer at all, I did not know that.
I don't.
The Roy Kent actor was originally just a writer, but he sent in an audition tape to Bill Lawrence with the wording, quote, "If this is embarrassing, you can pretend you never got this email," end quote. The infamous dance that Sudeikis does can also be seen on SNL in the What's Up With That skits. You know, ooh, what's up with that? Yeah. He said he also did this dance when he was 15 to make his fellow basketball teammates laugh. The Rebecca actress was asked in multiple interviews during season 1 or after season 1 how the biscuits were. She said that they were terrible. And after all those interviews, all of a sudden the biscuits got better. She said they were like dry and tasted like cardboard. And after all these interviews, they apparently improved. They looked delicious. Like the way she said it was some of the hardest acting she's had to do was pretending to enjoy those biscuits.
Interesting.
What else do I have? Danny Rojas was actually a professional soccer player. As far as how high of a level he was, I don't know. But all the actors can actually play soccer, so they had to show their soccer skills and their acting skills.
Football is life.
Yes, and you can see him in the new Spider-Man movie. There was a Liverpool coach who actually took his team to do karaoke. Sudeikis actually knew that, loved it, and ran with it. The Keely actress inspired the writers to make her funnier. So apparently she's funny in real life. The season 2 premiere, where Ted responded to a cocktail invitation that said, you know, the same thing I'd say if Diane Sawyer asked me out on a date. Yes, please. So Diane Sawyer saw that and she posted the clip with the scene in it on Twitter and responded to Ted Lasso and said, "I'm in, your move." What became of that? I don't know.
Oh, man. Lucky.
So the scene where Ted hits his head leaving Rebecca's office was actually an accident. He really did hit his head and needed medical attention, but they both stayed in character, so they used that actual scene. Roy Kent, the actor, when he won an Emmy, he was told not to swear beforehand, and he did. And my last one, and I don't know if I'm happy I'm relaying this information or not. The Roy Kent actor, Brett Goldstein, wrote Lone Island during quarantine. It's on YouTube, and it's a dating show featuring only him. He dates a plant and a ball. There are 12 episodes, all just over 2 minutes with a 4-minute finale.
What?
I watched a few of them. It's the fucking weirdest thing ever. And I found out
if you give actors too much time in a quarantine. Oh my!
That's what he said. He was like bored out of his mind, and he's a writer. And so because when I do some of these, sometimes I'll actually look up interviews with the actors because that's where you get a lot of the genuine fun facts. And he was talking about it. So of course I went to YouTube, and he's got a YouTube channel, and Lone Island's on there. And he's like, I thought about deleting it, but you know, it's part of me. It's my art. But it's like a Wilson. It's really weird. I don't know.
I know what I'm doing now.
I'm about to go check it out.
I mean, it's a quick watch.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of minutes. Interesting. All right. Well, on that note, Dave, why don't you go ahead? Any final thoughts about Ted Lasso? We appreciate you coming on. Pimp your show. Where can everybody find you and all the good stuff, man?
Well, first of all, thanks both of you for having me on. It's been great fun. I enjoyed myself. I love talking about Ted Lasso. You can find the show Beer in Front on all the major platforms. There's a website that I'll talk about tomorrow when I put my show out. I think I'm going to can my website. But for the most part, you can find me on social media under Beer in Front. The show usually comes out Wednesdays, although I have a new work schedule, so it could start coming out on like Tuesdays. But thanks again for having me. I had a blast.
Absolutely, man. Other Lauren, doppelganger Lauren.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, go ahead. Hit us with the goods.
Thanks. So the Beard Owl Podcast. Yeah, you can find us on all the socials at Beard Owl Podcast. You can go to beardowlpodcast.com. And we're also on basically everywhere you can find podcasts. And let's see. We've got some cool stuff that's coming out soon. I have an episode in January where I'm talking to children about Weird Al. My guests range from 8 years old. I've got an 8-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, and then I have some like older teenagers and like early 20s people. So everybody's under the age of 25 though, talking to Weird Al about me, like talking to me about Weird Al, not talking to Weird Al about me. Strike that, reverse it. But yeah, oh my God. Seriously, this 8-year-old kid, Isaiah, if you tune in for nothing else, listen to my episode where I talk to younger Weird Al fans and listen to Isaiah because he is probably, like, no offense to any of you, he's like probably one of the best people that I've ever talked to.
I sincerely need like the man himself to see that episode, to listen to it, and like that would just be. That's what 2022 needs.
Yeah, I think so.
I just need him to, and I know he's coming to Boise in the summertime. So if there's one thing that I do, is if I go to that show, is I'm going to start throwing like your stickers and shit up on stage. Be like,
oh my gosh,
do you know?
Leave him at the bar. Like,
oh, he's going to know because I have VIP tickets to 2 events on that that tour.
As you should. That is amazing. So that's the thing. Is like he's going to hear it from you, and then he's going to hear it from people who will listen to the show and be like, look, man, come on. And then he's finally going to get through his head. Yeah. He needs to come and just be there. So that's awesome.
We'll see. I'm not trying to pressure the guy. I'm happy to just, carry a small part of that torch. So I'm cool with it. But yeah, I mean, I probably would like have no words. Like I'm already like having a hard time coming up with words at the thought of even, the fact that I'm going to meet Weird Al twice this year is already, I don't know. I can't do it. I don't know.
I love breathe. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Bring a paper bag with you.
Oh my God. I'm going to need like 10 of them.
I have Xanax
too.
If you need a Xanax or something, I'm your hookup.
Thanks. I'll probably have a lot of wine with dinner beforehand. I'm gonna
need some edibles.
Pull out like the card, be like, "Dear Weird," and then she throws them out. But oh man.
I was going to say my 9-year-old is not like when we're eating dinner and I put on Weird Al, just eat it. But I mean, just eat the damn broccoli already.
I actually have Pavlovian trained my dogs because they're spoiled with their kibble. And like if I don't have anything like chicken or anything fancy to put on top of the kibble, like I'll dump the dry kibble in the bowl and they'll be like, what? If I go, hey Alexa, play Eat It by Weird Al Yankovic, and like they hear that doing, doing, doing at the beginning and just eat it, they start to eat.
Oh my God.
I've got them.
I wonder if I can do that to Brielle.
Pavlov, baby. Pavlov.
That is amazing. I love that.
If I get her mouth to water at broccoli, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
You guys, seriously, really, really appreciate it. Hoppy, do you have any final thoughts before we depart?
Soccer is life.
It's football is life. Get it right.
I did Google what practice is called. It must be training. It didn't feel 100% right, but I Googled it and couldn't find anything. So
that's fair.
If I find it, I'll put it on our We Fucked Up.
I was going to say
week.
It's going to be on our Fuck Up next week. So thank you everybody for listening. Check out these fine podcasts and we hope to talk to them again soon. So with that said, cheers everybody.
Cheers.
The Diamond Dogs have struck again.
You little pricks.
Welcome back. everybody, I hope you enjoyed that segment. Before we wrap things up, as always, man, our newest segment, we have the letters to the editor, which is a really fun segment where people, they can write in questions. They can ask us questions through Twitter, DMs, through text messaging, through however you want to contact us. Go ahead and send us some things. It could be anything, thoughts on your brain. Like you want to know something, want to know our take on it. Letters to the editors for you. And this week we have 3. So starting with Sean from Metalcore Nerds, he asked us our most and least anticipated MCU shows of 2022. Obviously, there are some big ones coming, right? So Moon Knight's coming, She-Hulk is coming, Miss Marvel's allegedly coming, Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special's coming. I think the 2 for me, man,
it's hard.
So the one that I'm very, very excited for, I think, is She-Hulk, because I think Hulk as a character doesn't get enough love in the MCU as far as character development and a good story, because he's Hulk, whether it's She-Hulk, whether it's actual Hulk, Bruce Banner, is very hard to write for a lot of people. And so I'm excited to see the Hulk family. There's rumors that Abomination's going to come. There's rumors just floating around that a whole bunch of people are making cameos. Daredevil's going to play a big piece, things of that nature. So I think for me, that's the most exciting one. She-Hulk being introduced, because you really don't know a lot about her as a character unless you're a comic book nerd like we are. And the one that I'm least excited for is going to be the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, because I just don't really like the Guardians of the Galaxy that much. Anyways, what is yours?
So my most anticipated is also She-Hulk. I'm very much so hoping to see Daredevil, and
I'm the fact a lawyer myself.
Well, just rewatching the old Daredevils too. It's like it's nostalgia in there, and it's they're giving us fans who were diehard fans that watched everything, even the one shots on freaking ABC.com. Like we're getting some credit now for putting in the work. And Daredevil 2 was something like I watched by myself, because when it first came out, I let Kaylee watch the first 2 episodes. And when it came out, she was like 12 or 13. And then that 3rd episode where the guy gets his head bashed in with a bowling ball, I'm like,
Holy
and
crap,
you're not allowed to watch this anymore.
Wow.
It was crazy. After Avengers, maybe 2013, but yeah, it was 9 years ago now at this point. So now that like other people are into it and they're really tying it into the MCU, and I love that I'm seeing the papers in the background of like Harlem Horror, and it's the Abomination they're referring to in Daredevil, and these papers are on the wall. So I'm really hoping they tie a lot of stuff together, and maybe we'll get Betty, and maybe all this.
Know what the fuck happened to Betty?
Right. I mean, I get that it was Edward Norton and it was a different studio, but this is still connected.
She was also in Eric Bana's, so I don't want to hear they had Betty too. So, but also like to see General Ross like in so many movies, and then we don't even mention Betty. It makes no sense. None at all. I bet you I can tell you your least favorite. What's my least favorite? It's gonna be Miss Marvel, isn't it? I was actually going to say Moon Knight, and I'm very excited for Moon Knight, but I know nothing of Moon Knight. Oh, I'm excited to watch Miss Marvel with my 9-year-old. Okay, I've actually got her a couple toys. She got the Lego. Like, I want her to get into this because I feel like it'll be a good character for her to get into. Like, she likes the superhero high DC girls. Oh, yeah. And this is a young girl. So I like that. I didn't think about that. That's a good point. You bring good points there. I'm excited. But it is hard because I'm excited for all of them. I think I'm going to be pleasantly surprised with Moon Knight. If I'm recently getting into the character myself, and he's really, I like him a lot. Well, and I know he's dark and mysterious, and it's the dude from Star Wars. So it's hard Oscar because Isaac, not just the dude from Star Wars. Right. Well, I'm very Dune. The dude. Right. He's from Dune. Right. But I'm very excited about all of them. But I don't want to say Guardians is last because for one, it's Christmas, and 2, I read that they're going to be setting up the next movie. And unlike you, I like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. That's fair. So, but we are going to do deep dives on all 4 characters before this. Well, not Guardians of the Galaxy, on all 3 characters. There are some Guardians of the Galaxy characters that I want to deep dive into, like Cosmo. So who Cosmo actually made an appearance in Guardians of the Galaxy 1. So that's neither here nor there. We are excited for everything. The next, if you made us choose, those are our choices. You made us choose. Those are our choices. Next up, we have a man named Josh who you might know as your husband. If you could have a superpower, what would it be? Mine would absolutely be the Flash's superpower. So super speed, essentially, because what couldn't you do with that? I could run across the oceans. I could run as fast as anywhere. I could vibrate through walls. I can
Answering your question.
Yeah, I could do anything. So mine would definitely be like super speed, like the Flash. If I could do one thing, it'd be like the Flash. That would be mine, hands down. Think of all the beers we could drink at the cantina together.
Oh yeah, and you'd have higher
exactly.
What do you call it? Metabolism
all day, and then if I got hurt, it would just be. I wouldn't feel like an old man all the time. I'd be good to go, and I can eat as much as I want too.
See, my answer was going to be super speed as well, mainly because I really like traveling, but I hate flying. Yeah. So like if I can run to South Africa in 10 minutes, as opposed to an 18-hour flight where I'm uncomfortable the whole time. Yeah. And I didn't even think of the ability to be able to drink more and not get trashed.
Amazing.
So that's just icing on the cake. So yeah, I didn't expect us to both have the same answer.
We finish each other's sandwiches.
There you go. And we got to eat a lot of sandwiches if we're going to be
high metabolism,
running really fast.
All the sandwiches. Last but not least, Juan from JP's World. JP is a big supporter of the show. I've been trying to find the right time to have him on. So we are going to get him on. He asks, how did we meet? Well, actually we met, it was almost 3 years ago at this point, because we started off just posting beer pictures to Instagram through Hops News. So we randomly saw an ad on Instagram that was like, hey, you want to be a part of this? And so we're like, yeah, why not? And then it just kind of evolved from there. In April of 2020 is when we want to do a podcast out of it, because what else do we have going on? And it just evolved from there.
I feel like that was very obscure, your answer. So we met through Hops News. So the Hops News guy, Jay, who runs Hops News, he put out the ad, and Matt and I both responded. And then we were both like, we knew who each other were, but we didn't know each other at first.
Not at all.
It's like we were, Matt or Jay would email all of us together. So like you would be on the email chain. There was some other people too that
weren't there like 4? There were like 6 people total. Like there was another dude, not just Lucky and I.
I feel like there was another girl too.
I think so.
I don't know. I kind of want to go look at my Gmail.
Yeah. Let me know, because I'm very curious now.
Yeah, so we started writing just beer articles. It was just beer focused at first. And then, when April 2020 COVID hit, what Matt was just saying, Jay, the guy who runs it, was like, hey, you guys want to do a live podcast? And then when Matt and I had one too many tangents on Game of Thrones or Marvel or whatever, Jay's like, you guys should start your own podcast.
And so we did.
And we did.
Suckers. And now
the rest
world
is history.
Is a better place for it.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, world. You are welcome. So yeah, that was fun. Thanks everybody. Like I said, if you want to go ahead and let us know what you have as far as letters to the editor, let us know, hit us up. And we got some fun things coming down the pipe. I don't want to spoil what next week's episode is just yet, because we're putting an event together. And so it's going to be a pleasant surprise out on the Twitter world. But thank you guys for coming along with us, and we will see you all next week. Cheers, everybody.
This has